Hello, everybody, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Drivers Lab iRacing Manufacturers Championship. You join us here for round 5 at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. And I am joined by no one this week, actually. Amir is in Russia, being the chief scrutineer for GT Endurance Series in St. Petersburg, and by the looks of it, he is having an absolute blast. But alas, I'm here all alone for you guys today. But let's not dwell on the positives too much. We have an amazing round lined up for you guys. This is going to be qualifying. It's going to be two races, a qualifying, and of course it's reverse grid this week, so and it's the final reverse grid of the championship as well, so very, very exciting stuff. This format has been a blast to commentate and very chaotic to cover, but I will try my best for you lovely viewers this afternoon. Now, why don't we look at the weather as a first order of business? The weather conditions today are good. We had some thoughts of rain. Half of the grid thought it was going to rain. The other half thought it was going to be dry. It is dry. Will it stay dry? It is likely, but it's not certain. So we will be very much looking forward to seeing if the conditions change. Oh, as Connor McGowan goes into the wall. We have some here for you guys as well. The temperature is quite fluctuating at this time, especially with the track. It being a little bit colder, a little bit hotter as the clouds come in and out. So we'll be monitoring that closely for everyone and for you guys watching. Now, next in the order of business to cover, it is the championship. And now I will open a brand new screen for you guys, and I hope everyone's very excited to see this. We have some brand new graphics. We got a really nice upgrade. And boom, we have the championship standings. Not everyone's on it because not everyone is racing on the server at the moment. So I will fill in the blanks for you. We have Szymon Hidrewicz leading the championship. He's always been leading the championship ever since race 1 in round 1 at Daytona, and he has always been in the lead, and now his lead is looking quite substantial considering there's only going to be 3 more opportunities for other drivers to close that gap. Now, second is a driver who has had many downs, but also importantly, many ups, and quite substantial ups, I would say, quite bombastic ups. It is Jack Doe. 2 Fords in the front 2 positions. Jack Doe will be looking at the previous reverse grid round, which we had at Spa, and thinking, man, how am I going to top this? Because, of course, he had 2 wins. 1 in the normal grid and 1 in the reverse grid format. He had to make his way all the way from the back of the grid to the front of the grid, and he did that with a few laps to spare, might I add. So very, very interested how he performs now on this stage here in Imola, much tighter track. In third position, we do have Zach Didcott. Now, Zach Didcott is has had his ups and downs much more, let's say, pronounced than Jack Doe. He's had obviously missing the first round at Daytona, but rounds 2 and 3 have been very good, and then round 4 has been not so good, a bit questionable. But either way, we are looking forward to seeing if Zach will join us and put on a show for everybody. Mr. Rashid Al Ahmed in chat. Everybody, if you have someone you're supporting, if you have a team or a driver that you are supporting today, please show your support in chat. I'm reading it. I'll be reading it. And if you have any questions, please pop that down in chat as well. I'll be answering as many as I can. We have a lot of time before practice starts here. In fourth position, I have an interesting conundrum here. It seems like not all the championship standings are correct. I'll just read them off. We have Hassan Saigal in P3. Now Hassan has really come into his stride later. I support Jack Doe. Yes, Jack Doe, very much someone who... Let's go to an onboard of Jack Doe for the time being. Jack Doe is in the pits, so we'll go back to Simon. But Jack Doe is someone who can positively affect his championship standings today. I think a driver enabled to win if everything comes together well. Someone who's still in touching distance of the leader. Not everyone is going to be able to say that, but yeah, very, very interesting round coming up because, again, very, very tight circuit at IMOLA here with a reverse grid format. Now, who's racing today? Let me pull up the timing tower. We have a few boards, a few names on the board already. These are not all the drivers that will be racing today. These are all the drivers who have set a time in practice so far. And Jack Doe, unsurprisingly, is at the top of that timing sheet. Now, if we go through, in P5 of the championship, we have Aziz Omar. Aziz Omar doing very, very well, and an undisputed GOAT of the championship so far because he has put on more servers than the organizers, than us. So kudos to him once again, supporting the championship, making sure everybody is able to practice and bringing the community together in the process. So massive shout out to Aziz Omar doing that. Connor McGowan is back with us racing today, currently sitting in P6. Let's see if we can go to Connor. Usually rocking an interesting livery. Not today. Today rocking a very classic, a royal livery, let's just say, in the Aston Martin green. Very iconic colors for a very iconic brand and manufacturer. He sits in P6, currently in the championship. Someone who, when he races, when he's able to attend and participate, has had very, very good results come his way. And yesterday, managed to snag the championship in Formula Student Esports from the comfort of his own home, competing for Southampton University. So congratulations to Connor. I enjoyed watching that and supporting him. So everyone is obliged now from Southampton. Anyone watching will be supporting him in chat, I am sure. If Jack's wheelbase works, well, Jack's wheelbase, we hope works. It was really frustrating, I think, for Jack, and a disappointment for us here to see Jack not extract everything that he can out of the races because of hardware failures. Of course, in real motorsport, that is very much a big part of it, making sure you don't get any mechanical errors, but it is a smaller part of the championship here in sim racing as well, because yeah, mechanical issues happen all the time. I've seen my fair share in big moments as well, but your ability to manage that, quickly figure out what's wrong, figure out how to fix it, and get going again, it does lead to better results overall. So it's very much a skill you can learn and can improve over time. Let's see. Amir is not here, unfortunately, today. He is in Russia. He is the chief scrutineer for the Endurance GT Championship happening right now in St. Petersburg. And it seems like he's having the time of his life. But again, as I said before, let's not talk about the positives too much. I'm here by myself today for you guys. And I'm looking forward to actually seeing all these new graphics and testing out all these new systems that we have here for you. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the broadcast nevertheless, Amir notwithstanding. I'm going to have to do some screaming. Yes, I have a little bit of water here. Just took a sip, making sure my voice glands are nice and lubricated. And rest assured, there's going to be a lot of reason to scream today because it's reverse grid format and it's IMOLA. And it might rain as well in the feature race, which is the reverse grid race, race 2. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be great. Moving on with the rest of the drivers in the championship, we have Leo Aina. Leo Aina has had probably the most wheel-to-wheel racing in the championship so far. And he's not gotten any penalties issued by the stewards for it. So I think that is a mark of a driver who is not a rollover, but at the same time can hold his own and do it cleanly, which is very, very impressive. So looking forward to how he is going to perform today. Next up, Louis Butler. Don't see him joining us yet. He might still come by and show his face. Unfortunately, a driver who's had 3 DNFs in the past 3 rounds. Winning round 1. But yeah, unfortunate for Louis Butler in the last 3 rounds. Let's see if he joins us today. We have Said Bintuk. Let's go to Mr. Said Bintuk, who is in, I believe. He is in, but he is in the pits. So we will go to him later, I'm sure. Rocking a brand new Simpsons livery in the pink, hot pink Porsche. I'm sure you will notice him on track today. Casper Maas, closing out the top 10 in the championship. Mercedes AMG GT3, of course, in partnership with Team Dubai and Gabriel Rindon, who has participated in the Spa 24 Hours in real life using the same livery that the drivers are using in our sim today. We don't have any Mercedes in the server at the moment to go to show you that livery. Actually, we have Dylan, who we'll talk about. Rest assured, don't worry about that. But we will not be seeing the red and white livery as of yet. Ethan Rubio is P11. Ethan putting in a very solid string of results for Ferrari. A little bit overshadowed by his teammate Zach Ditkov, but Ethan has been really, really solid for the Italian manufacturer. The Italian manufacturer that is very closely based to Imola, only maybe 20-minute drive away. So looking to see how he can close up his championship in an effective fashion. We have then Khalid Al-Muhairi, the Upforce McLaren. Very bombastic championship from him so far. But let's see what he's able to do with the last 2 rounds coming up. Jack Johns. Let's say a shrewd defender of any position that he's in. Last round is... let's just say that he's had his fair share of contacts now for the championship. Probably for Aston Martin as a manufacturer, not just himself. We'll be looking to get into a little bit less contact this race. As last race, he did pick up a drive-through penalty for the incident points. Does claim that none of those were really his fault. But if you are always in a situation where you're getting contact, then maybe that is a reason for you to look inward, let's just say. Mohamed Al-Kubaisi in the Ferrari. Let's go to him and swing to him. Mohamed Al-Kubaisi, another solid point scorer for Ferrari. putting in some solid performances. Recently visited us here at Drivers Lab. Best race result, I believe, was Daytona Race 2, where he held off the top drivers in the field for a very, very long time in the reverse grid race. Not able to quite finish the job, but still finished a very respectable, I believe, P4 in that race, so well done to him. And then P15, Dylan C. Allen. Now, Dylan has had a bit of a hiatus, not participating in the championship, but he is back, and he's going to be looking to score top points in this race here. Will be looking to be on the top step and challenging for the win, as he always does. And then P16, Mohamed Al Rustem, Maximilian Rendon, Timofey Kazakov, Byron Piri, Dan Wells, our favorite driver in P20. Then Mahmoud Al-Bash, Alexander Karavayev, Ahmed Al-Qasmi, and Rain Marcelo closing out the standings. In terms of Manufacturers' Championship, we have the Ford leading quite comfortably with 262 points. Of course, the duo of Jack Doe and Simon Fidorovich doing the heavy lifting there, being that they are the top two drivers in the championship. It makes sense that their manufacturers also the top of that list. Just a reminder that only the top two cars of every race score points for the manufacturer. This is just to keep the field more or less evenly spread, because if a team has 6 cars versus a team that has 1 or 2, it's a little bit unfair. So that's why the rule was implemented. We heard some questions about that. Where's Verstappen? That is a very good question. I think a lot of the drivers on the grid here would make a case for themselves being Max Verstappen. But if I were to give one driver the attribute of Max Verstappen in his driving style, I would say it's me. I think I'm probably the most similar out of all these drivers to Max Verstappen, mainly due to the fact that I'm better than all the drivers on the grid, which is why I'm not participating, of course. I'm commentating for you guys and providing the deepest of insights. Connor clears Max easily. Does he though? Let's be for real. Let's be honest with ourselves here. No, I'm just joking. Connor is a great driver, and I hope that he has a chance to prove that to us today. We have Luke Kaminski getting a meatball. Now, Luke is a driver who is brand new to this championship. Has raced in the iRacing Drivers Lab Championship before, but the previous championship, where we had the Formula versus GT Championship. Now, Luke is a young driver, only 14, based out of Hong Kong, but German. Is just now maybe not the best time to go to him, but just now looking to start his career in single-seaters in real life, looking at the F4 ladder and perhaps beyond. And so going in the sim is a natural step for a driver like that to take. And so he is going to be sharpening up his skills wheel to wheel against what I would say is probably the very best drivers in the Middle East. Of course, Luke not being based in the Middle East, but still we have some of the best Middle East-based drivers in our series, and I do stand by that. You wouldn't take that slander. Well, you don't really have a choice, mate, do you? Let's just put it that way. Anyways, we have then the Porsche in second place. We have a lot of Porsche drivers fighting for points, and so maybe that has skewed the championship a little bit because they keep fighting themselves. They're not really necessarily putting themselves in the best positions to score points for the team. Then we have Ferrari, Aston Martin in fourth, Mercedes, BMW, overtaking McLaren, who is now in last place. Now that we've talked about the championship, we have about 10 minutes before the drivers take to qualifying, where I'd like to speak a little bit on the circuit. Now, we are at Imola, and the circuit is formally called Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. Now, Ferrari is a name you might be familiar with, and it is named after the Ferrari, the boss himself, old man Ferrari, Enzo, and his son, Alfredo, or Dino for short. Of course, a very historic track. A lot of Grand Prix in F1 happening here. Basically, the last 20 years of the past century, the F1 circuit, F1 circus has been coming here and racing here. We also had a race here very recently in 2020 during COVID. And yeah, very positive, a very bright history that the circuit has. Except, of course, for one weekend that was very tragic. We had Ronald Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna losing their lives in 1994 at this track after their respective crashes. And so the circuit is infamous also for a different reason, and that is taking some of the greatest talent in motorsports away from us. Now, Lewis Hamilton actually holds the record. I would imagine that Michael Schumacher would have had the record before that, and he certainly has the most wins at the track at 7. And so it's nice to go to a place that has so much F1 pedigree. Hassan stopping in the middle of the track. Let's go to someone else. Now, how is everybody doing? Aziz Omar, 8th place with no points. 8th place with no points. No, definitely not. 8th place. Commentator humble as always. Always humble, mate. Of course. Now, as I can see, we have a lot of Connor supporters, which is lovely. And we have an Aziz Omar supporter in San Suave. And then we have some Verstappen supporters. And of course, Jack Doe. Can't forget. Hopefully, Jack sorted out his issues in his wheelbase. Humble is Ruslan's middle name. Listen. You already know. Of course. Wouldn't have it any other way. Let's take a peek at the weather again, because there might be some rain coming in, or not, as Jack Doe takes us on a scenic route through Variante Alta, I believe. Let's actually pop a track map on the screen for you guys. We're gonna check out Said Bintuk's livery in the meantime. A very lovely pink livery. I believe that is, what, Japanese? Would be interesting to know the backstory behind this livery. Let's take a look at the weather. Still cloudy. The track condition is getting warmer. And it's dipping a little bit again. I guess the clouds came in. So it was at its hottest about 5 minutes ago. And now it's dipping again. We'll keep an eye out. We'll keep an eye out. Very, very high humidity, 95%. That, of course, means that downforce will not be as effective. And in turn, that usually means that the cars become a little bit more difficult to control, a little bit more slidey. And that might play an interesting role as drivers navigate through turn 9 here as we go through with Leo Aina. This is turn 9 right here, Pirateia. And now coming up to Aqua Minerale, holding behind Jack Johns. These two drivers like to get at it, huh? Let's hope that doesn't happen in the race going into Aqua Minerale. But of course, nothing is impossible with the grid that we have here, ladies and gentlemen. Such a good commentator, very detailed and insightful. Thank you so much. I will send you... I will go out and test drive your PayPal account by sending it in some... a nomination of money. Are there any predictions in the chat? I know there are some folks who are supporting different drivers and different teams that we have. But what would be your predictions? I will share mine in a bit as well, just before we get into quali, but it'd be lovely to hear from you guys, everyone in chat. And more importantly, how many crashes will we see and incidents will we see? That is the question of the day. Will everyone keep it clean? In race 2, I certainly don't think so. If I can be so blunt and share my opinion openly like that, I really do not think that will be the case. We will see some crashes, and we will analyze some crashes, and I think it's going to be a very long day in the office for the stewards, as it ever is. Now, coming up to the last 2 minutes of qualifying, we have Jack Doe and Simon Fidorovich in the Fords leading, being at the top of the timing table. Unsurprisingly, would it be too soon to infer something from that? I think so, yes. I think there are some drivers who have IMOLA in their back pocket and are very proficient on the circuit. And you can see just how close the gaps are. I mean, let's actually change it to not interval, but gap overall, so we can see. At the moment, third place is 5/10 behind. Now that is Connor McGowan, of course. Is it Ford OP? Or is it just the drivers are better than all the other drivers in other manufacturers? Would the result have been the same if they drove a different car? I say yes. I really rate the two drivers in the top 2 spots of the championship at the moment. They put in the time, put in the work, put in the hours. But I think the Ford has not been holding them back. Let's just say it like that. I think that's fair to say. I think the Ford is one of the stronger cars in the championship, especially after the patches that have come through since we announced the teams. Obviously, the big one coming through at what would have been week 1. Delayed by a week due to the updates in question. And yes, soon hopping into qualifying. Khalid Al-Muhairi has joined us and graced us with his appearance. What a lovely livery. He's been rocking this livery now for the second round. The Martini McLaren. Historic livery for this manufacturer. I think the McLaren is one of the more pretty GT3 cars. I think if we were to give it scores based on aesthetics alone, I think that's definitely one that needs to be up there. All right. 13 cars take to the grid today at IMOLA. A little bit of a smaller grid than we are normally used to. However, that doesn't mean that the racing will be any less fierce. We already have some drivers heading out onto the grid. We're going to follow Aziz Omar on his outlap as he has Hassan Saigal and Jack Doe or Simon Fidorovich in front of him. Simon is rocking a different livery than he's used to. Now remember his was black. Oh, we have Aziz Omar. Let's switch to another car, shall we? I didn't see that. We have Aziz Omar. We have Simon Fidorovich, sorry, rocking a different livery than he's normally driving. Choosing now to fully represent Meatball Motorsports in all of the colors. We have 3 cars from Meatball today. We have the 2 Fords and we have Hassan Saigal. Now, while they are on the same esports team, they are not teammates in our series. And so I expect some battling to happen. But of course, Hassan has been very sensible in the past with letting cars through that are, you know, substantially faster than him in order to basically stay safe and not risk a crash and consolidate some championship points. Similarly to Connor McGowan, actually. And his team yesterday, Southampton, who chose not to fight for the win and choosing to take second place in order to secure the championship for their university in the Formula Student Esports Series. Dylan Allen here, another driver competing in an esports series alongside ours. Let's see if we can show him. Competing in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Now doing the regional qualifiers alongside myself. We had a race, 4 days ago in Suzuka. And I think Dylan came away relatively happy, as did I, with the results. And looking on to Adelaide next in 2 weeks' time. We have our steward today as well, Daryl Brady, also competing for the Asian and Pacific qualifiers in the same championship. His race is this weekend, so make sure to cheer him on this weekend as he competes also at Suzuka. Tire warming happening. These drivers will have maybe 3 flying laps, or maybe 2, to set their times. And actually, we are going to go on board with Dylan Allen as he completes his first lap. Coming out of Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2, the final corner, or the final real corner of the track. Very important to get the best exit possible out of this quarter because it leads to the longest straight of the track as well as the best overtaking opportunity. Crossing the start-finish line does Dylan Allen, coming up through the kink of turn 1 into the braking zone of turn 2 into the Tamburello section. Braking early and letting Jack Johns through, so let's actually change who we are spectating. We're gonna go on board with Said Bintou, who is now exiting Rivazza 2 in the same, almost the same area that we were just looking at. Porsche revving a lot higher than the Mercedes of Dylan Allen. Coming up to the big braking zone, again the nicest overtaking opportunity. You want to keep yourself on the right side, eat as much of the curb as you can. On the right, on the left. And now coming up to the Villeneuve chicane. You have to take a lot of speed through this first left-hander and exit in third gear, most likely. Second gear is a little bit short. Coming up to Toza. A very difficult braking zone and slightly on camber and uphill, so difficult to judge your acceleration point. Now over the hill at 8 into 9, Pirateia. A lot of commitment needed through this corner and a very tricky exit as you have a lot of AstroTurf. Coming up to the trickiest part of the circuit, Acqua Minerale. The minimum speed governs your pace through this corner. Very difficult undulations and sort of a bowl-shaped section. Coming up to the chicane, Variante Alta, another great overtaking opportunity if you manage to get it right through Acqua Minerale, over the first curb, over the second curb, and again a tricky exit with not a lot of grip to go around out of turn 15, Variante Alta. And now coming up to the downward braking of Rivazza 1. Extremely heavy braking zone. Brake bias goes right all the way backward for that one. And now out of the final corner, Aziz Omar getting a great exit as he completes his first qualifying lap of today's session. Wow. We have so far not reached the pace of qualifying, but I'm sure that will change by the end of the session. We have Simon Fidorovich in provisional pole. Let's see if we can make the... Yes, we can. We can make the minimap work for us. Simon coming up through Acqua Minerale. You can see the amount of bumps you have to navigate. Traction control will be working overtime through that section. And now the bumpy chicane. You can see how much these drivers are able to take in these GT3 cars. Of course, would have been set up to be as compliant as possible with that chicane, as you can gain a lot of time going and taking the bumps as long as you don't leave the track limits. And now coming up to the final section. Let's see, it looks like Simon might be able to get one more lap in. We're gonna follow him on the chopper as he goes through again, going into turn 2, setting the fastest lap still. Taking turn 2, the left, then the right. Notice avoiding all of the big sausage curbs to carry as much speed as possible and avoid those bumps that really throw in a lot of unpredictability into the track. Now through Variante Villeneuve, a lot of speed carried and the maximum track limits used. The wheels all the way out to the gravel there. Now going up through Toza, the uphill hairpin, turn 7. Now rounding the hill. He would be blind in this section, not being able to see anything going up to turn 9, Pirateia. A lot of commitment. You can see just touching that curb on the inside and taking the full track on the outside as Jack Doe sets the provisional pole lap through Acqua Minerale. Again, avoiding all the sausage curbs, not taking them as other drivers have been, and carrying the speed. Now coming up to a big braking zone of Variante Alta. Now impeded by traffic and having to abort his lap. The Simon Fidorovich, he is not going to be happy about that. Will he have time to set another lap? Most likely not. And does that mean that Jack Doe will get to keep pole position? He is now himself coming through Acqua Minerale, potentially looking to set a better lap than that. And we have a bunch of drivers now potentially finishing their qualifying. We had Johns, we had Fidorovich, we had Al-Muhairi, we had Saigal now crossing the line for the final time as we are on board with Jack Doe to see if he can finish the qualifying in style. No one able to best their times this time round. McGowan now coming through. And Leo Aina as well, not improving on their times as Jack Doe rounds the track for the final time in qualifying and is able to improve his time to a 41.9. Well done, Jack. And it seems to me like every driver has now completed qualifying except for Luke Kaminsky, who is still not on the board. Will he be able to set a valid lap just before the qualifying ends? And he does not. He does not set a valid lap, and that means your grid is set. And now, the drivers will be gridding for their very first race now in normal grid. And we are gonna go through the grid together. An amazing, fantastic first race scheduled for you guys today here at the Drivers Lab iRacing Manufacturers Cup. In pole position, we have Jack Doe looking ever comfortable and ever quick. And in second position, we have a driver who was going to set a better lap, but got impeded by traffic. Szymon Fidorowicz having to settle for P2. And now, on the next grid, we have Dylan Allen claiming his slot in P3, starting in the best position on the second row of the grid, right alongside Connor McGowan in P4. Leo Aina coming up to P5, solid qualifying from him, putting that BMW in P5 and looking to score some solid points for the championship. And Hassan Saigal lines up alongside him, perhaps looking for a better qualifying performance, but certainly poised and positioned well to score some deadly points and secure the important positions for the manufacturer. Aziz Omar lines up next to Jack Johns in P7 and P8. And Said Bintouk in the hot pink Porsche lines up right next to Khalid Al-Maheri, making up the top 10 spots of the race 1 here at the Drivers Lab Manufacturers Championship. Ahmed Al-Kasmi taking his Ford and coming up right next to Mohamed Al-Kubaisi. And in last position, not setting a valid lap, we have Luke Kaminsky as these drivers round out and make their way to the beginning of race 1 here at IMOLA. Let's see here who can be the winner coming out of the first few corners in this race. Let's see if we can follow on the blip cam. It's a little bit. And we are off. Jack Doe is able to get a fantastic start, and Dylan Allen has caught Simon Fidorowicz napping. Leo Aina makes his way to 4th, and Connor McGowan is in 5th, just behind, alongside Hassan Saigal. There's now a little bit of a line. Hassan Saigal now losing out to Connor McGowan, who's gonna send it completely into turn 1. Looking to take the escape road, not making the braking. And Connor McGowan gonna be the big loser of that turn 1. And everywhere else now, everyone's settled into a single file line. And the big news is that Simon Fidorowicz has lost the top 2 slots for the Mustang, and Dylan Allen has slotted himself into 2nd place. Hassan Saigal gained the position, so did Leo Aina, and Jack Johns making up the top 6. Said Bintouk now perhaps attacking Jack Johns, But Jack John's able to hold off for the time being, now going into Acqua Minerale. All well for the drivers who are just looking to heat up their tires, put any kind of heat and competitiveness into their car, as Said Bintuk keeps looking left, keeps looking right to see if Jack Johns can be phased. He cannot. He makes his way through Variante Alta in one piece in 6th place. And we look onward. Now up ahead, we do have a situation developing with Dylan Allen knocking on the door of Jack Doe. Now in a straight line, we might see if there is a little bit of something going on, because let's see if we can pull up this little graphic here. Just less than 2/10 separating these two drivers going into the braking zone of turn 2. Happily choosing to stay behind Dylan Allen as he looks for a better overtaking opportunity. Of course, the race has just begun. It's too early to be sending in crazy moves. And for the first time in a long time, Jack Doe actually has a little bit of pressure behind him. Some real pressure, not from his teammates, but from another driver who is on merit looking to compete for the win. Now, does Jack Doe have my shaved head on the roof of his car? Yes, he still does. He has not removed that. Well, that is unfortunate, but he is in first. So credit where credit is due. Driving really well. Not many overtakes happening on lap 1, as is expected in race 1. We have Luke Kaminski making up a position. But still, we are going to follow these two drivers as they battle for the lead. Going into Rivazza. Is there going to be a move on? There is going to be a move on from Dylan Allen, sending it down the inside. And Jack Doe sending it right back. Jack Doe will not give up that easily. The switcheroo coming through, and that puts the duo, but mainly Dylan Allen, in a little bit of a tough position now, having to defend against Simon Fidorovich in P3. What is going to happen? The slipstream is going to be strong. And we're going to see Dylan Allen do well and brake well and not be at risk of losing a position to the Ford behind him, but rather be looking to secure a position in front of him, as Ahmed Al-Qasmi did unfortunately crash. We may take a look at that later on. Wow, we are really treated to a fantastic battle so far at the front of the pack for a change, as Dylan Allen is glued to the bumper of Jack Doe in front going into Acqua Minerale. I can't imagine Dylan and Simon are having an easy time going through these sections with the dirty air coming out of all the cars in front, and happily picking up incident points by going off track, but that is all in favor of trying to get as much pace out of the cars as possible. Now we have the battle for first place. You can see in the bottom right of your screen, we have the three drivers, Jack Doe, Dylan Allen, Simon Fidorovich. Less than a second. We're now a quarter into the race, and there's still less than a second to separate these drivers. A little bit of a spread coming in. Let's see if we can show the interval. Let's go on board with Said Bintuk, as he is also battling with Jack Johns. Jack Johns and Said been actually close by each other the whole race. Let us actually... yeah, let's do that. Jack Johns and Said Bintuk Oh, Jack Johns goes really wide and outbrakes himself going into Toza, and that means Said is alongside of him for a short while, but has to slot in behind. Now coming up to Pirateia. This potentially sets up Said Bintuk for a very, very nice move. Going into Variante Alta if he's able to stay close and catch the slipstream coming out of Aqua Minerale. And it looks like Said does have a run. Where is Jack Johns gonna go? He's choosing to defend the inside. No! He's choosing to defend the outside. No single file through Variante Alta. And now losing a bit of space as we go back to the front. We have a little bit of a run actually going on from Simon Fidorovic. And is that bump drafting happening from the third place car to the second place car? I think it may be. Just to build that gap. I think these three drivers are on another level of strategy, because this is not a move that you would see a rookie make. Giving a bump draft to a direct competitor in an effort to build a gap to the drivers behind so you can freely battle towards the end of the race. Fantastic strategy coming through. And actually, now we have Conor McGowan joining this pack. This is, of course, the battle of Said Bintuk and Jack Johns. Let's see if we can show this battle. Now you can see Jack Johns leading the pack, and less than a second between these three drivers at the moment, going through Aqua Minerale. Let's see if we can go on a chopper cam to follow these three as they are nearing Variante Alta. Now Conor McGowan might be having a run. Very good on the brakes from him. And the cars bunch up through Variante Alta, now going into Ravazza. Is there going to be a move on? It doesn't look like it at first glance. The Porsche pulls away from the Aston Martin. And again, very nice on the brakes from Conor McGowan, overshooting the corner slightly, but makes the corner. It looked for a moment like he was going to rear end the Porsche that sandwiched in between the two Aston Martins. And we're going to go back, actually, to this battle right here. We have Said Bintuk attempting to make an overtake on Jack Johns, not being successful, and now putting himself up. Oh no, and not pushing Conor McGowan wide. He's gonna have to slot in behind. And yeah, an overtake attempted on Jack Johns. Let's see if we can actually throw up a little bit of a replay. This is Said Bintuk attempting to overtake Jack Johns here. Moving left, moving right. A little bit of contact, but Jack Johns keeps the position, keeps the inside line. And then at risk from Conor McGowan. And he finds the overlap, and Said Bintuk pushes him wide there. We are gonna go back as this little group heads through Aqua Minerale, coming up to Variante Alta. And there's a little bit of a different battle now shaping up. And that's through here. Leo Aina letting Hassan Saigal through. What's going on here? We cut just at the perfect moment. Is it a slipstream play from these two drivers? Or is it a slowdown being served by Leo Aina that Hassan Saigal has been able to take great advantage of? Yes, indeed. And now, side by side, going into turn 2. Who's going to be better on the brakes? Hassan Saigal giving enough space. And Leo Aina having to stay behind, potentially for a whole nother lap, as we see Luke Kaminski getting a penalty for a meatball flag, surely after he has had a crash just now. And yeah, a great battle happening between these two. Leo Aina about to send it, but thought better of it in the last moment. And yeah, certainly very, very close between these two. We're gonna cut back to Said Bintuk and Connor McGowan now. They are keeping at it. A little bit behind the group we were just previously watching in Leo Aina and Hassan Saigal. Going through Aqua Minerale. Connor McGowan will bide his time and look to attack perhaps into turn 2. Look at my goat closing in. Inspirational stuff. That is indeed true. I think Connor will be feeling a little bit upset about being forced off the track by Said Bintuk earlier in the race today. But will he be making another move? We'll cut quickly back to Hassan Saigal and Leo Aina. And nothing doing between these two drivers. Just slotting back in. Hassan Saigal picked up the pace as soon as he overtook Leo Aina. And actually, we have an overtake. Simon Fidorovich passing Dylan Allen. We're going to go to a replay of that. That happened into Variante Alta, and Dylan Allen taking a slowdown penalty for cutting the chicane and will have to concede 3rd place. We're going to be back on board with Leo Aina. And again, if we go back here, we have the group back together. Jack Johns losing out slightly to the gap. He had a gap before, but not anymore. Now closed down by Said Bintuk, and now coming up to the final third of the race. These three are going to be, again, inseparable. Now if we go to Simon Fidorovich having to defend from Dylan Allen just behind. If we go actually to Dylan Allen for the graphic to work. And yeah, as soon as the move was done and as soon as Dylan Allen picked up that slowdown, Simon Fidorovich got the track position, and that means everything around IMOLA in the GT3 cars. Because look at the gap already coming up to 7/10 of a second. However, that is not going to slow Dylan Allen down because he just set the fastest lap of the race. Of course, points being awarded for the fastest lap and pole position. And let's look again here at Said Bintuk, potentially sending into turn 1. No, having to think better of it. Not quite close enough. And now we have a little bit of a repeat of the situation now between Said Bintuk and Connor McGowan. Now has overlap going into Variante Villeneuve, and there's contact between Connor McGowan and Said Bintuk. And the big loser of that is Said Bintuk. Now the stewards are going to have to take a look to see if there was enough overlap between these two drivers. And wow. And that's the battle over. Said Bintuk not losing a position more than he did through Connor McGowan, but still not going to be happy about that. We're going to go on board with Leo Aina and Hassan Saigal as they make their way through Variante Alta again. Now we're discovering the best overtaking opportunity if you're able to force the driver in front to make a mistake. And they are coming through Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2, and Leo Aina will be looking to get a very, very good exit out of this final corner, pick up some slipstream and send it into turn 2. We are actually quickly going to go on board with Leo Aina in his BMW as he tries to pick up slipstream, and you can see the Porsche just has a lot of straight line speed. Not able to make a lot of progress, Leo Aina does, on Hassan Saigal, and will have to slot in again and wait for a better opportunity throughout the lap. We have Connor McGowan now sending a move in, potentially through Jack Johns. Jack Johns holding it and closing the door quickly. And the two Aston Martins will be seen battling it out. Again, in the same spot. Conor McGowan not going to be sending it through. And going to be biding his time. 4 minutes to go. Out in front, coming through Pirateia, we have Dylan Allen as well battling for the second step of the podium with the mighty Mustang of Simon Fedorovic, the brick, the American brick. And nothing doing. Conor McGowan very, very close to Jack Johns. I'm sure Jack is going to be very skeptical of his chances of making it through alive in one piece. We're going to go on board with Dylan Allen as he potentially sends a move, forcing Simon Fedorovic to defend and go slow through Rivazza 1, potentially compromising him through Rivazza 2. And we're going to go on board with Dylan Allen as he looks to pick up a slipstream. Going on the outside, I guess deliberately not wanting that slipstream just yet. In the meantime, we have Leo Aina and Hassan Saigal. Nothing doing there. I think a little bit too far back. But not for Conor McGowan. Not far back. There is a move on into turn 2. Moves to the outside. Jack Johns keeping the inside line there. Fully alongside into the braking zone of turn 2. Where Conor McGowan made that mistake in lap 1. Room given. And contact made as he sends Jack Johns into the wall. Jack having to recover. Oh no! Absolutely crazy! And there's massive contact from Jack as he's in the middle of the track going slowly. And him and Aziz Omar picking up potentially race-ending damage. Jack not able to continue. And Said Bintuk sending it to the pits. What is going on? This is not even the final lap, I don't believe. And we have a great hysterics. Oh my god. What just happened? We can't think about that too much as we are on board with Dylan Allen. As he gears up and prepares himself potentially for the very last overtaking opportunity. We're going to follow in chopper cam as these two drivers make their way through the pit straight. And Dylan Allen, 5.5 tenths behind. It is not going to be enough. However, Leo Aina is not in that position. Less than a tenth potentially now separating them as Hassan defends the inside and Leo Aina is now on the brakes. Room given by Hassan, but the door quickly closes as Hassan is able to take a more efficient line through turn 2. And Leo Aina is now again not too far back. Better on the brakes and is seemingly glued to the bumper of Hassan Saigal. Hassan Saigal looking to defend left, right, and center. Hyper defensive line taken by Hassan Saigal. And Leo Aina looking for the switchback. But great parking job by Hassan to park it on the apex and park it on the curb. Not letting any moves in to Toza now making their way through Pirateia. Not necessarily an overtaking opportunity, but a preparation opportunity for Leo Aina as he looks to get a great exit. No! A move being sent into Aqua Minerale and there's been slight contact. But no, Hassan Saigal able to hold it, foresee the move, and able to adjust his line to get a better exit done. Wow, fantastic driving from both drivers there. Great moves, great battling. And wow, what a desperation move being sent by Leo Aina, but fully in control of his car. Now going into the last overtaking opportunity and a send coming in, but nothing doing for Leo Aina. Will have to settle in behind Hassan Saigal. What a fantastic battle between these two. And we have Jack Doe crossing the line to win the first race. He will be starting from the back of the grid. Simon Fedorovic P2 and Dylan Allen will be having to settle for P3. Hassan Saigal, fantastic defending job on the last lap behind Leo Aina, who then takes P5. Aziz Omar quietly bringing his Porsche into P6. We didn't focus on him much, but he was mostly clean there, doing a great job. And Conor McGowan, P7, an interesting 2 moves that he pulled on Jack Johns and Said Bintuk, forcing them both to collide with each other right behind him. Mohamed Al-Kubaisi coming through. Again, in a little bit of a quiet fashion, but again, solid points for his Ferrari team in P8. Ahmed Al-Qasimi bringing his Mustang into a top 10 finish along with Khalid Al-Muhairi. Very well done to all the drivers. Luke Kaminsky picking up some damage. Same with Jack Johns and Said Bintuk. Wow, what a race. That did not disappoint. And we are going to be immediately looking at the moves being done by Conor McGowan. First, we are going to go on Conor McGowan's move into... Let's see. Wow, that is a little bit of a crazy move. We're going to go and replay that again. Oh, as the session moves into the warm-up for the next event. Let's see if we can still play that replay. We can. And we are going to go on the chopper cam and we're going to slow it right down. You can see there's significant overlap between these two drivers as they both try and make that corner. But seemingly, Said Bintuk thought he had more space. He had less overlap. And yeah, luckily the rejoin didn't sideswipe Conor McGowan as he made his way through. Now, we're going to go on board with Conor McGowan as he makes his way through on Jack Johns. Again, we are going to go on the chopper cam. And we're going to see as they make their way through turn 1, the flat kink as the pit exit. And into turn 2, Conor McGowan giving room. Jack Johns getting a lot of rotation. And yeah, Conor keeping his nose in over the bumps. And there is a little bit of netcode happening. And Jack Johns does unfortunately see himself end up into the wall. Actually, if we keep watching Jack Johns' perspective, we will see what happens afterwards in the aftermath of that situation, if we just speed up a little bit. And as he rejoins and struggles with the geometry of his car being a little bit off, Said Bintuk just meets him. And both drivers find themselves in the pits having to tow after that incident. I want to take a look again at Leo Aina's move into Aqua Minerale on the final lap, trying to make a move. Getting that nice drive by Hassan Saigal, able to sniff it out and defend appropriately. A little bit of contact, but great driving from both of these fantastic pilots, putting on a great show for us. And we are going to go and see what the drivers are up to now as they're preparing for the next run. That was interesting from Conor McGowan. Let's just say that. What do we think, chat? What do we think? You think that move was on? Do we think that move was on from Conor McGowan on Jack Johns on the last lap? I think it was on. I think the move was definitely on. I think the nose was in there. And at first glance, I'm not going to issue my professional opinion as an occasional steward, as I have to be for this championship. I'm not a full-time steward, I'm an occasional steward. But from first glance, without looking at all the driver inputs, as we would have to do if we were to issue a decision, I would say that move was on. I would say the nose was kept in. And I think all in all, dare I say a racing incident? I don't want to influence the stewards now if they're watching the broadcast, excuse me. But yeah, definitely not ideal for Jack Johns at the very least, and certainly not ideal for Said Bintuk, who had to encounter a slow Jack Johns rejoining the track at turn 4. Yes. I think it's time for Jack Johns to get his head down. He's going to be starting at the beginning of the grid. At the front of the grid. And so I think for him, he's going to be looking to consolidate that bad result and turn it into a solid win, perhaps. I think that is a possibility, certainly for Jack Johns, depending on how long it takes for the Mustangs to make their way through the field. Because here at Imola, it might take some time. But there's not as many drivers to get through this time around. Only 12 taking to the grid. 13, my apologies. 13 drivers taking to the grid this time. But yeah. What a crazy situation. Certainly very, very interesting, to say the very least. And yeah, I think it's time to look at the grid of this next race. And for race 2 of round 5 of the Drivers Lab iRacing Manufacturers Championship, at pole position, we have Said Bintuk in his pink Porsche lining up right alongside Jack Johns in the purple and white Aston Martin, looking to get a brilliant result for the next round, next race coming up here. Luke Kaminsky lines up alongside Khalid Al-Muhairi. I think a great battle happening here if the both drivers can keep it on track. Ahmed Al-Kasmi then lines up in P5 and alongside Ahmed Al-Kubaisi in P6. Solid result from them last race, looking to see if they can improve on that. Connor McGowan will be lining up alongside Aziz Omar. Connor looking to, again, the GOAT of some of the viewers in the chat, looking to make up these positions. And Aziz Omar looking to make a mark on the broadcast because he's been quietly putting in laps but not really battling anyone. Let's see if that changes. Leo Aina lines up alongside Hassan Saigal. Leo Aina now in front, Hassan Saigal behind. Great battle between these two last race, as we are now coming up to the big boys. Dylan Allen lining up alongside Simon Fidorovich, looking to get a better result than third, and Simon looking to bring home the victory for the Mustangs once again. And at the very back we have Jack Doe, again looking to make the repeat double peat happen. And yeah, what a fantastic grid we have. Drivers will be now finding their way onto the grid. Safety car will be coming in shortly, and we are ready to start race 2 of the iRacing Manufacturers Championship round 5. Safety car is in, and we have Said Bintuk controlling the pace, and he gets a great start. Jack Johns is gonna have to slot in behind, and Luke Kaminsky taking avoiding action not to get in contact with Khalid Al-Muhairi coming up to turn 1. We have some action in the back. 2 wide, 3 wide from the leaders of the last race, and Jack Johns will be making up all sorts of different positions into turn 2 of lap 1, following Said Bintuk. And we have now drivers slotting into their slots. Connor McGowan losing out massively for the time being, and finding himself in P12. as we have Hassan Saigal having to navigate as Luke Kaminsky is dropping a few more spots. We're going to focus in on that behind, actually. The Falcon tire liveried Porsche of Aziz Omar making his way through. Luke Kaminsky's had a shocker of a first lap. Now having to defend and making contact with Simon Fedorovic, who cannot find his way through the BMW of Luke Kaminsky. And still making his BMW so wide is Luke Kaminsky. Not letting more drivers through. He's had enough. And we have Mohamed Al-Kubaisi having to hold off from Hassan Saigal, who's sending a move in to Rivazza 1. And there's contact being made as potentially Hassan Saigal overcooks into that corner. And Kubaisi is forced to lose 2 positions. At the front of the pack, we have Jack Johns chasing down Said Bintuk. Behind them, Al-Muhairi, Saigal, Aziz Omar, Mohamed Al-Kubaisi now being passed by Luke Kaminsky momentarily as there's a intense battle and contact being made. The Ferrari sideways gonna be rejoining the track, taking out Jack Doe in the process, our championship leader in the gravel, courtesy of Mohamed Al-Kubaisi's uncontrolled Ferrari, courtesy of contact from someone. We will be taking a look at that later on as we focus on Luke Kaminsky again causing more havoc with the Fords, not letting them through, and more contact as he's now battling Simon Fedorovic. Oh no, there's massive contact as the other Ford is into the wall. We have a shocker for the championship leaders. Oh no! What's happened here? And Luke Kaminsky finds himself... Oh no, there's more contact from Luke Kaminsky. A shocker race from him. There's going to be some investigations happening afterwards. We're going to focus on this battle right here for P2. Khalid Al-Muhairi has a run on Jack Johns, potentially sending it in. Let's see if we can find Khalid Al-Muhairi. Let's see if we can get that. He's sorted out for you guys. Yes, a battle for P3. Only 2/10 in it. Slipstream firmly in the hands of Khalid Al-Muhairi as they make their way through the start-finish line into turn 2, braking. Jack Johns will pick the inside line. Khalid Al-Muhairi will stick behind. He will have a look. Jack's gone defensive and no move to be seen into turn 2 as Al-Muhairi does lose a little bit of time. And now the 2 Fords, scarred and bruised, having to make their way through. This is not the start that they would want. They would want to get through the field cleanly, and they have been caught up by a certain BMW, and both suffered the consequences of a tango with the Luke. What a crazy start to the second race, as it would be. Hassan Saigal, let's see, in P4, now having to chase down Khalid Al-Muhairi, who is now involved in a very serious battle. In fact, it is a 3-way battle now, as Jack Johns has caught up to Al-Muhairi. Let's see if we can show a little bit of a battle for the lead. Again, less than a 10th now coming up to Variante Alta. All 3 drivers taking it nice and well. It looks like Hassan Saigal may have picked up a slowdown in all of that. We won't know for sure as he serves that we have Jack Doe and Simon Fedorovic serving. Not serving, sorry, just chasing down the field in general. Gonna have to work in a group, potentially bump drafting each other to get the most amount of pace out of these cars. And yeah, what a crazy start to the race. We have Dylan Allen in the pits. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we're gonna go back to Said Bintuk, Jack Johns, and Khalid Al-Muhairi all battling for the podium positions. They're all 3 in the podium as of this moment. We did have an overtake. Jack Doe did pass Simon Fedorovic, but I'm sure there have been some team orders involved. As Khalid Al Muhairi does send it on Jack Johns. Jack Johns clearly struggling for traction. And again, side by side out of Toza going into Pirateia. Is there going to be a move? Yes, Jack Johns is going to have to slot in behind and accept P3 for the time being. Khalid Al Muhairi with a fantastic move and overtaking Jack Johns very early in the race. Well done to Khalid Al Muhairi. Let's see how he progresses through the field. Firmly the downforce McLaren at this moment in time. And yeah, now in all of that we can see lap by lap Hassan Segal is eyeing that group in front and potentially the lead of the race. That will certainly give him a big boost in the championship standings, considering that Jack Doe and Simon Fedorovic are stuck in P6 and P7 respectively. I want to go on, take a look at the situation that occurred early with Jack Doe and Mohammed Al-Kubaisi. Let's see how that all transpired. We have contact from one of the Fords who then got taken out. I think it was Jack Doe. Let's see if we can go back again and replay it from the chopper perspective. Yes, certainly there is contact from Jack Doe. And then it's just a passenger experience for sorry. Yes, that was just a pure passenger experience, and then he collects Jack Doe with him. That is quite unfortunate. We are going to go and check out the situation that occurred between Simon Fedorovic and... yeah, let's see if we can go backwards on that a little bit. We have Simon Fedorovic on the outside going into Toza, and Luke Kaminsky defending. There is one contact for you. There's two contact for you, and that collects Dylan Allen as well. Luke Kaminsky, what are you doing, mate? Just unfavorable all around, and then he chooses to continue, and obviously that doesn't end well. Let's see if we can go back to the group in front. We have 4 cars now battling for the lead, potentially. And in the meantime, let's see if we have missed something significant. No, just only that Jack Johns has... Jack Doe, sorry, set the fastest lap of the race. And you can see now the 4 drivers are all together and somewhere out in the distance, ready to collect. If there are any deposits into the gravel, is Aziz Omar in the Falcon Tire Porsche. Very, very close is Khalid Al Muhairi to Mr. Said Bintuk. Is there going to be a move potentially being made into Villeneuve? I don't think so. Yes, just a little bit of defensive driving from Said Bintuk. Nothing doing. And now the top 2 drivers are making a statement where they're pulling away from Jack Johns and creating a little bit of a gap and potentially putting Jack Johns in trouble from behind from Hassan Segal. And yeah, now going into Aqua Minerale, let's see if we can go on board with Khalid Al Muhairi as he gets very, very close. And now the Constantina effect pulls him away, and actually Said Bintuk is able to have a very good exit. Let's see if we can get on the suspension here as they go through the bumps. You can see behind, Jack Johns now has a run potentially going into the Rivazza section. We're gonna go on board with him as he potentially sends a move. Is looking, is sending, is there overlap? There is contact between Jack Johns, and looks like he's gonna be able to get the overtake done. Hassan Segal is now getting a run because of all that shuffling around between Al Muhairi and Jack Johns. And Al Muhairi, looking for P1 at the beginning of the lap, now is seeing P4 on his dash. That is not a good lap by any means. Now going side by side, Hassan Saigal going over the bumps, able to keep it in front through turn 3 and now into turn 4. But Moheri does have a bit of a gap now. Let's see if we can extend the battle for first. Al-Moheri, no. Nothing doing for him as he's going to have to slot in behind Hassan Saigal. And Hassan will now potentially move his eyes upwards down the road and into Jack Johns' position of P2, being only 4 tenths behind at the very moment. But will he be able to shake off Khalid Al-Moheri? We are yet to see. We'll find out very shortly for sure. All the while, Jack Doe and Simon Fidorovich are still struggling now firmly into the second half of the race to catch up to the front pack. And now going through the chicane, a little bit wide for Khalid Al-Moheri. And a good run for Hassan Saigal, potentially eyeing up a little bit of a slipstream into turn 2. Let's see how the exit looks like for Hassan Saigal out of this final corner. Rivazza, turn 19, is their slipstream. The Porsche seems fast in a straight line, and we can see as the gap goes down and down and down. But will it go down enough? I say no. Have to just slot in behind. No, looking for the move. On the brakes, room is given, and contact is done. Oh no! Jack Johns again falling victim to a move by Hassan Saigal. Was that move on? I say not. That is all the way down from Spain that move was sent. All the way onto the inside of turn 2. What a crazy attempt, but the job is not done. Hassan Saigal losing out. And now that puts Aziz Omar potentially in a position where he can eye second place. He's now in 3rd overall. And wow. Jack Johns losing out massively now behind Jack Doe. And this is exactly what Jack Doe would have been looking for, my apologies. He was looking for this exact situation where, you know, the leaders are fighting and making crazy moves. And we're actually going to go on for a replay, I think. Let's see if we can get on to do a replay of the move that was being done. And yeah, it doesn't seem like that move was on at all. Let's see if we can go for another replay. And now in the chopper. And yeah, it seems to me like the room was given. And it's just a little bit out of control from Hassan Saigal. I think perhaps should have waited maybe an extra lap to get the move done. But we will never know the outcome of that. Now the 2 closest cars on track we have. Let's see if we can pull that up. Aziz Omar catching Khalid Al-Moheri. Battle for second place as Khalid Al-Moheri. Wait, what? What just happened? I wasn't looking. I was not looking. What just happened? This is just a replay. And yeah, just a very clumsy and bad exit from Khalid Al-Moheri. We're gonna go back to live. As Khalid Al-Moheri now is chasing down Aziz Omar. And Aziz Omar has been the benefactor of all of this infighting and mistakes that the leaders are doing. And now, having to defend from Khalid Al-Moheri. And Khalid Al-Moheri, yeah, like potentially P1. Now have to slot in for P3. But we do have blood in the water for a different driver. Hassan Saigal is having to look in his rear mirrors as a certain Ford Mustang of Jack Doe is chasing him. We're gonna keep an eye out on these drivers here. Let's see if we can see both battles a little bit of fog coming through, but both battles you can see clearly on screen here. Just out of shot is the battle for 4th, and in shot is the battle for 2nd. Let's see if we can go on board with Aziz Omar. What a camera angle. Oh, as Khalid Al-Moheri gets it slightly wrong. And Jack Doe made the overtake. Wow, that did not take long at all. Jack Doe now ahead of Hassan Saigal. We're going to be looking back at that, but surely Hassan won't be happy to see that occur. We're going to quickly go and look at the replay of that. Going into Toza. And Hassan Saigal just getting it all wrong. Was he letting him through, or was he... did he outbrake himself? It's a little bit unclear at this point in time. And yeah, still, we have a very close pack of these drivers. And surely Jack Doe is going to look at the time and think, that's not enough for me to make all these moves. Well, maybe that's what I'll be thinking. Jack Doe will definitely not be thinking that. I think Jack Doe is set to get 2nd place. Or that's what he will be looking at. But wow, what a race did it turn out to be. We had a crazy lap 1. I think Luke Kaminsky has ruffled a lot of feathers. And conversations will be had afterwards in the group chat regarding the moves that were made. Yeah, coming up to the last 2 minutes of the race, Khalid Al-Moheri still pretty much glued to the rear bumper of Said Bintuk. Said Bintuk just has to drive smart, drive clean, not make any silly mistakes that would lead to a loss of position at this stage. But Khalid Al-Moheri knows he's not only on a short fuse now with the race ending, but also he has to be looking at Jack Doe, who is hunting him now from behind, and saying, man, I need to make a pass here soon or else I'll be at risk of Jack. Meanwhile, the leaders... Oh, sorry, Aziz Omar in 2nd place. Said Bintuk has been in 1st place the whole time, comfortably. Yeah. A move perhaps on for Jack Doe. And we will go on board with him. As he potentially gets slipstream now from Aziz Omar, who then gets slipstream to Khalid Al-Moheri, who then gives slipstream to Jack Doe. And now side by side, going into turn 2, Jack Doe does have the favorable line, but is blocked by Aziz Omar, and there's slight contact being made, and position gained again for Jack Doe. Wow, Jack Doe seemingly through all odds making his way to the front of the pack, and now eyeing that last position that he can probably gain this race, and that is the position of 2nd place taken from Aziz Omar. Can he do it? They're going through Toza, glued to the back of the bumper of Aziz Omar. Will the move be made? Not into Piratea just yet, but they're gonna go into Aqua Minerale. And if last race is anything to look at, it is that a move is possible into Aqua Minerale, as Jack Doe... No, he's gonna sit patiently and wait and get a good exit potentially out of Aqua Minerale. Looking at the chicane of Variante Alta, gonna choose to go for the inside line, gets cut off by Aziz Omar, and will have to slot in behind. Nothing doing for Jack Doe as he looks for an inch. Any inch to take a mile away from Aziz Omar. And we will see now as Jack Doe potentially sends it into Rivazza. A last move being done. What a switchback. And contact made by Jack Doe, sending Aziz Omar into the grandstands, into the gravel. And whoa, Jack Doe is now cleared the way for everyone behind him, including Simon Fidorovich, to gain those positions. As we see now, Said Bintuk crossing the line in first. A fantastic victory for him. And in P2, we have Jack Doe. And in P3, we have Khalid Al-Muheri making up the podium of race 2. Hassan Saigal in 4th place, thinking should have done better. Jack Johns in P5. Simon Fidorovich, Aziz Omar. Let's look at the results. What an ending to this race. This is, of course, provisional results for everybody watching from home. But wow, race 2, 12 laps driven, and lots of action on your screens at home, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic driving from a lot of drivers, and some questionable moves being done that the stewards are no doubt looking at as we are speaking. Wow. Simon Fidorovich gaining at the end there. 1 extra spot from Aziz Omar, who will be gutted, who will be so upset and wishing for more. A podium was easily possible for him, but Jack Doe did send in that move from downtown once again. Wow. Leo Aina, unfortunately, I didn't really notice that much, but Leo Aina is a lap down. This race wasn't the best for him. We will take a look at how his race transpired as well. Luke Kaminsky, wow. What can I say? What a debut in the Manufacturers' Championship, Luke. And maybe not in a good way. Sorry to say, but it is the truth. Wishing for a better race 1 and certainly a better race 2. And Dylan Allen just unfortunately getting caught up in all the different situations that arose from the battling occurring in the first few laps. I'm going to see if I can show the provisional championship standings after the races. We have Jack Doe climbing and gaining some positions. I don't know if this is in any way reliable, to be honest, because it didn't look reliable at the beginning. But take all this with a grain of salt, because we are clearly seeing some issues with the program, but also these are provisional standings, with the real standings coming out very, very soon. Wow. I think we ought to take a look at some of the incidents that occurred throughout this race. Let's see if we can find out where Leo Aina went wrong. Let's see if we can find out what has transpired between those drivers. Leo Aina. Not sure what's happened, Leo Aina, but we can take a look here. Starting from the pits, let's see if we can snap it back and see what occurred. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. So this is lap 1. Leo Aina is making his way through the field in the red BMW. Contact everywhere, left, right, and center. And yes, getting into a situation with Dylan Allen. That is truly unfortunate. Let's see if we can go on the chopper cam and see if there was anything doing between these two drivers. It doesn't seem like it. I think no racing room given by Leo Aina at first glance. Again, not looking at the driver inputs just yet. Just my own quick analysis looking at the very first instance of a replay. Very, very intense. And we are going to take a look at the incidents from Jack Doe. We have here a replay. Here, this is turn 1, penultimate lap. Jack Doe making a bit of contact with Khalid Al-Moheri. Now let's see if there was indeed enough space. Let's see. Let's see what the stewards think about that. At first glance, it looks to me like a racing incident, but I don't want to speak too soon. And again here, let's look again at Jack Doe passing Khalid Al-Moheri in the final lap. No, not Khalid Al-Moheri. We're passing Aziz Omar. Oh, hold on. Let's see if we can show this. So this is, just unfortunate contact. You can see by looking at Jack Doe. Where can we find Jack Doe's onboard? Here we go. If we go on chopper cam, you can see sending it left, sending it right, sending it left again. And on the brakes, just collecting each other. There's some very hard racing going on. Let's see what the stewards think about that. That is a very difficult incident to judge. But in this situation, you need to look at the rules and see what are the rules regarding wheel-to-wheel racing. Who has the right of way and at what point? I want to take a look at some incidents from Mr. Luke Kaminsky. In fact, I think it's best if we just take a look at Luke's entire beginning of the race. Let's see if we can go back to the start, if indeed it is the start. Yes, indeed. Okay, so let's go again to chopper cam as we are following. Oh no, there's already contact at race start. And Luke is caught napping, makes contact with literally everyone on the grid as they make their way through. And has to slot in behind in P4. And we're going to have a look at Connor McGowan's incident as well as he's in chat. But Luke Kaminsky putting on a show for everybody as we're going through and watching the replay of his race start to race 2. Now going into the Villeneuve turns. Missing that one. Missing this one heavily. Let's see the rejoin. Rejoin. He caught Hassan Saigal in that rejoin, unfortunately. And getting an oversteer moment. Not the nicest exit out of Tosa. But still making his way through now into Pirateia, having to make room for Aziz Omar in the Falcon liveried Porsche, going through, and just losing position left, right, and center, contact, and more contact, and this is where Luke had the widest BMW in the West. Absolute lowrider spec with how wide that car became for the next lap and a half, and we will just skip a little bit ahead as he keeps both the Fords at bay. And here we go into turn 1. Now into turn 2, the braking zone of turn 2. Luke Kaminsky gets a good run. We already saw this incident on replay as Jack Doe gets collected by Mohammed Al-Qasmi. No, so Mohammed Al-Kubaisi, sorry. And here again, trying to defend, giving room initially. And Simon Fedorovic had enough, makes contact with Luke. But Luke is not having it himself. Sends it down the inside of Tosa. And here is it where it all went pear-shaped. Crazy contact. And lots of pit maneuvers happening. Rear wings being lost. Cars being sent to the pits. And yeah, that was the race pretty much for Luke Kaminsky. Let's see if we can go on board with... Oh, yeah, more contact there. Oh, yeah, and Kobayashi getting in contact again. Yeah, unfortunate start to the race. Let's see if we can follow Connor McGowan. As I assume he gets collected. Let's see if we can go on board. This is the first lap of race 2. You can see this is the incident we were just watching. Or not necessarily. Connor McGowan making his way now in P9 at this very moment that we're watching him. Making his way through into P10. This is the beginning lap of race 2. Oh, going into the pits. Never mind. Let's actually go back and see what occurred for him at the start of the race. Starting at the back. What was he? Oh, did he just have a bad start? Oh no, Connor. So you can see the green Aston Martin of Connor McGowan on the left. As Said Bintuk makes a getaway. Connor staying on the outside. Smartly to do so. And I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on here at all. Oh, you had a pen for overtaking someone at the line. Yeah, classic. Oh, that sucks. That is unfortunate. But I guess you got to witness a lot of the incidents in your front view. Let's see if we can witness some of them as we go through here in your perspective. Yeah, that is unfortunate. Jump start for Connor McGowan in race 2. A lot of positions potentially lost because of that. Oh my god. Let's see. Let's make our way through with Connor McGowan's perspective. As you'll probably notice the ultra defense that occurred. Oh, and then he had to serve the penalty. And I believe that's it, right, for you, Connor? That is very much in. It's a lonely race. Yeah. Unlucky for Connor McGowan. I want to see Said Bintuk's perspective from race start. Let's see if we can make our way to lap 1. Can we make our way to lap 1? Let's see if we can do that. Said Bintuk. See if we can find Said Bintuk. Let's do this and then chopper and then Said Bintuk. Go a little bit backwards and see what occurred from his perspective if we look at the gearbox. Jack John's giving it a big look down the inside, but nothing doing. Let's see if we can skip forward and find some crazy moves. We can already see Leo Aina losing in the background. And yeah. Interesting race. Very, very interesting. But yeah. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, while the stewards will be calculating and giving out the results in the next few days, I want to wish you all a very, very good day and a very, very good evening. Thank you for joining us here at the Drivers Lab iRacing Manufacturers Championship. It's been great having you, and I hope I was able to, you know, fulfill my duties as commentator, even in the absence of my other half. The worst half, to be fair, but a half nonetheless. Take care, and good night, everybody.